Good morning.
Good morning.
Your own estimates suggested that an extra 70,000 places would be needed by today to meet the demand. How many extra places have been created?
Well, first of all, can I just say that it's a really important milestone that we're meeting today and will make life so much easier for hundreds of thousands of working families across the country. Despite all those inherited delivery challenges, we've actually met our promise to parents, and that's meant working really closely with councils, working really closely with early years providers to grow the number of places that we need to see across the country. And we've achieved that today, and this will save parents £7,500 per year. It gives them more support to balance their work and family life, and also eases pressures on grandparents. So a really significant milestone which we've delivered against the odds.
So have you created those 70,000 extra places? Is that what you're saying when you say you've met your target?
So over 500,000 children from this term will benefit from our scheme. That's above and beyond our initial projections.
No, I understand that, but just I want to be very specific about this, because we'll go on to talk about some of the issues around this scheme. Your own government estimate said that 70,000 places would be needed by today, the 1st of September, in order to meet the demand. I just want to know whether you have managed to do that.
We've been tracking all the statistics over several months. We will have more information on what it means in terms of the numbers later this month. But certainly we've seen a significant increase in people accessing the entitlement. We've seen an increase in those providing the entitlement up to 5,800. That's the highest level since 2018.
I understand that. But
and an increase in places across the country.
I understand that. But do you know how many parents are having trouble finding a nursery place? That's why I'm asking about whether you've met that target, your own target.
We've seen significant increases in places across the country. We'll publish more information on that later this month. But what I will say is that latest polling tells us that the vast majority, 93% of parents, have seen their preferred place delivered today. That's their top 3 place, which is fantastic news. And I pay tribute to the sector that have made this happen.
You have increased the hourly rate you pay to childcare providers, but lots and lots of them are warning it's not enough. And actually, they're turning to parents to make up the difference. They charge for things like meals, nappies, trips and sun cream. Do parents have to pay this extra fee?
We've been absolutely clear on what parents do have to pay for, and we set out clear guidance earlier this year.
So do they have to pay that fee?
Well, it's a voluntary arrangement in terms of those added extras, and there's detail that's been provided to local authorities and providers on that early this year. We want to make sure that childcare system is affordable and accessible for all parents, and that's why we set out a Best Start in Life strategy earlier in July. These are real issues that we've been working really closely with the sector on to get right.
But so you've said there it's a voluntary payment. Are you aware that lots of providers are not telling parents that that charge is optional?
That's exactly why we're bringing in new requirements on providers from January next year to be really transparent around what they can and can't charge for. So parents have got that information at their fingertips, and that'll be live from January next year. OK,
but you're saying it's voluntary now. So why can't you bring that guidance in immediately so parents don't have to pay what is often quite a lot of money every single day, which they don't have to pay?
So some providers will already be providing that information to parents. We're working really closely with local authorities to bring this about. A number of providers already have information on their website already. But this is about making a system that's more accessible for parents and more affordable for parents. And that's exactly what we're getting on with delivering.
There are reports of women bringing forward their C-section appointments. So actually changing the date of the operation to have their children born so that they can get a nursery place. That's how hard it is in some areas to secure a nursery place. That can't be right, surely.
Well, we inherited a system that was a pledge without a plan. And, if we were going to start this provision from a blank sheet of paper, we wouldn't design it the way that it has been. And that's why early this year we set out our wider reform plans to make this a much simpler process for parents. That's the next stage of this reform so that we can deliver for every parent across the country.
I understand what you're saying about inheritance, but you've been in government for over a year now, and I've just asked you whether you met your own targets. You can't say that you have. You don't know how many parents are missing out on places for their own children, and the guidance is still not clear at all. Is that good enough, do you think?
Well, I dispute that, and as I said, we will give you the data later this month. It's fairly common to get the data out once the term has started. You'll have to wait a little longer for that information.
OK, it is back to Parliament today. We're expecting an announcement from the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, in the House of Commons later. This is about restricting people's ability to bring their family over with them if they are claiming asylum here. Is it right, in your opinion, for people who arrive here illegally in a small boat to have the right to bring their family to the UK when they apply for asylum?
Well, the Home Secretary will set out more detail later today, but she will go further in setting out our plans for refugee family reunion as indicated in the White Paper. This will bring us in line with many other European countries and will help relieve the pressure on local authorities. This is about bringing greater fairness and balance to the system, and that's exactly what the Home Secretary will be setting out later today.
So do you think it's fair?
I absolutely commend the Home Secretary for the work that she's doing to end the chaos that we saw.
I understand that, Stephen Morgan. I understand that, but I'm asking you a really simple question. You're a politician. Is it fair, in your opinion, for people who've arrived here on a small boat illegally in the UK to have the right to bring their family over here? Is that fair?
Well, we want to build fairness into the system. What we want to bring is restoring the order to an asylum system that was broken under the last government. That's why we've actually deported 35,000 people that have no right to remain in the UK. That's why we've increased the number of decisions on asylum claims by 28%. That's why we're reducing the number of asylum hotels in our country. We've made good progress, but there's much more work that needs to be done as well.
Do you know whether you think it's fair or not? Is it something that you've thought about before?
As I said, the Home Secretary will be setting out detail later today in the House. We want to bring fairness to the system and balance the system.
I understand
and release some of those pressures on local authorities.
I'm not trying to be difficult, but I think a lot of people are really frustrated hearing politicians ask what is quite a simple question, and there's no right or wrong answer necessarily. But you just seem completely unable to answer it. And I think that's why people feel that politicians are missing the point here. I'm going to ask you again, do you think it's fair for somebody who arrives here on a small boat to have the right to bring their family here? Do you think that that's fair?
As I said, we're bringing fairness and balance to the system. I absolutely understand people's frustrations. I'm frustrated by it myself, and that's why the Home Secretary is taking action to address these issues as we've set out in the Immigration White Paper.
OK. I want to move on to talk about Angela Rayner. There is a suggestion today that she's registered to vote in person at her address in Hove. That's not where she says her main home is. That's in her constituency. Does that feel right to you, that she's registered to vote in person at a different address to the area she represents?
I mean, it's not unusual to consider voting on polling day in a different location. You know, polling day.
Well, that would be quite unusual. No, that would be unusual. Sorry, for an MP, that would be unusual because if you're being elected in an area, you would be voting in person in the area that you would be elected. It would be very unusual for an MP not to do that.
Well, it's not unusual considering that polling day remains a very busy day for colleagues. I'm registered to vote in 2 locations. I obviously only vote in one place on polling day. But for their primary residence, that's obviously the location that most people vote.
A lot of the stories around Angela Rayner's tax arrangements seem to suggest that she's done something that's very legal, but it's about lowering the amount of tax she pays. Would you encourage everyone to look to see if they could do the same, if they can afford financial advice?
I mean, Angela Rayner has set out her living circumstances and, she's answered questions put to her. But look, it's not fair for me to get into the specifics of her personal circumstances.
Do you use financial advice to plan your taxes?
I don't know. As I said, Angela Rayner's had questions put to her and she's provided those answers.
Is that something people should be looking to do, though? Within the law, look to pay as little tax as possible. Is that something you would encourage your constituents to do?
This is a matter for Angela Rayner. She's been given
I'm asking you a broader question. I'm not asking you about Angela Rayner now. I'm asking you a broader question. Would you recommend to your constituents, look, make sure you pay legally what you are owing, but you can try and reduce it as much as possible within the law?
This is a matter for people to make individual choices, but my point is that Angela Rayner has answered the questions that have been put to her.
I want to ask you finally, the Labour-run council in Enfield spent £18,000 on a mural, a library, at a time when the council is seeking to save £600,000 a year by closing libraries. Does that make sense to you?
I'm not aware of the specifics. I think libraries have a significant role in communities to give people the skills that they need for work and for life. I think they are tremendous local community assets.
Stephen Morgan, Early Education Minister, thank you very much.